711 candidates, 23 governors. We have 33 senators. We have about 400 House of Rep members running, and House of Assembly members across the 36+1 state. So we have representation.
Yeah. I want to
How is the full party man, so he can, he's passionate about this, so he will probably give you the figures a lot better.
Yeah, I wanted to quote directly from your manifesto, because you call yourselves a people-oriented mass party. And I was, wondering what that means, and how does it translate into the philosophy that underlines your policies and your, if you like, contract with Nigeria should you become president and vice president?
Okay, thank you very much. If you recall, or anybody has history, knows about the history of the PRP. It started from the NCNC in 1945 and morphed to the NEPA, and then from there.
Can I interrupt? Can people in this hall hear them at all? I think people are struggling, so while you keep talking, I will be asking my technical people to please try and resolve that. I can hear you, but I could tell that people were struggling, and it's important that they hear you as well, and not just the people at home. So please carry on, and I'm so sorry I interrupted.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to say was if you know the history of the PRP, it started with from the NCNC, then to NEPA in 1945, then 46. Then from there it became NEPU. From NEPU in 1950, the same party morphed into PRP in 1978. Now, what was that? The real genesis of the party was a party that wanted that saw that there were the colonial masters were trying to divide the masses, especially using the aristocrats and through the feudal system. And this was a party that was brought about from a need for the masses to have a voice. And that's what the party stands for. It still stands for that. It stands with the masses, and it showed that example when we were in 1979 to 83. We held government in Kaduna, old Kaduna State and Kano State. So when we say we're a mass party, we mean we're the party for the masses, for the people, for the common Nigerian, the ordinary Nigerian, not for the political class.
And that longevity, when you sort of talk about it, sounds really exciting, except historically you have never formed a national government in that sense of the word. So what makes you think Nigeria is now ripe for a party with the sort of orientation that you have, if, for 50 years you've tried and failed to convince Nigerians to give you a chance?
Well, what has happened over the past is that we have been a very progressive party over the years, number one. Number two, over time, we've been stereotyped to be a northern Muslim party. But today, this so-called northern Muslim party is fielding Akola Abiola from the southwest as presidential candidate, and how today that it only costs you 100 naira to register. It's the only party today that you can buy your forms for next to nothing. I think 250,000 for the Nigeria candidate state assembly ticket, and you can run tomorrow. It's the only party that is that we don't have any overhangs or godfathers that allow for the youth of Nigeria today to participate freely and do the homework. So that endears us to a lot of people who really want to have a voice, who think it's about time to make a change, especially since the older leadership has failed. Let them try something new, and we're the fresh ones.
Okay, so let's see if we can dive in and sort of see if we can sort of be a little bit more granular
Please.
with the things that you say you want to do. Again, spending a little bit of time looking at your manifesto, you talk about the fact that is underpinned by 5 basic principles. The ones that stood out for me is state control of the economy, which essentially seems to be socialism, and correct me if I'm wrong, and total liberation from imperialism. How does sort of private sector, fit into this, ethos or this principle that you've described as state control of certain things and the control from imperialism? And I'm asking this especially because you have a lot of, in fact, most of your career has been private sector. Both of you, exactly. Yeah. So I'm trying to understand, how these two things would work in a government run by you.
Well, I think let me start. It's okay.
Let me, before you answer the question, it's meant to be state control of the commanding heights of the
That's what I'm going to say.
So, commanding heights of the economy. What does that mean?
Now,
what are the commanding heights of the economy?
What it means is that we are going to run a market-driven economy.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that the government totally hands off. It means that at the appropriate time, or when the need arises, the government can actually step in and take its role as a last arbiter.
What happens now? I mean, how is it different?
Right now, it's very public sector driven. And it's not just public sector driven, it's driven to cater for just a niche. It's never been an equal opportunity player. For us, we are looking as a people, as the name says, People Redemption Party. We are running an all-inclusive government. Every citizen must feel that they are part of their government. And because of that, our policies are geared towards having a totally inclusive government, right down to the administration of our governments. And that I will explain at some point in this discussion.
I'm interested in us sort of drilling down to the granular. So you sort of explained that you feel the way government runs in Nigeria now is only for the benefit of a handful of people, and the sort of level of control is I would like to know, what are the things you will control? What are the things that you're ceding to the private sector? And how will you assert oversight if you are intending to assert oversight?
I think what we're saying when we say commanding heights of the economy, we're talking of something close to resource control, whereby the state, what is produced in the state, to a large extent, the state has control over it. That's what it basically means too, in addition to what he has said. So what we're talking about is a government which has control of the resources found in its state.
So some sort of restructuring, because that is a conversation and devolution, and it means different things to different people. So one of the things it means to you is essentially people controlling their resources. So that's one of them. What else?
Another thing is the fact that we would have policies, execute policies that actually go down to the bottom. Very simple example is the issue of housing. We would encourage housing development. We would encourage the Federal Mortgage Bank, for example, to be a market-driven entity, but the interest rates could be subsidized by government to encourage. But also you have to have your pensions in. You can use your pensions as collateral to get facilities. That way you don't erode the value of your pensions, considering the inflationary factor and the effects. But on the interest rate side of things, to stimulate growth, jobs, and the industry as a whole, if we have an interest rate of 21%, for example, we want a single-digit interest rate, we as government will step in and subsidize that to stimulate that growth, just to get a lot more participation from the bottom. So the problem is that many of us we have an informal sector that is 60% of our economy. 84% of our employment is in that economy. They have been able to survive without being within the formal sector.
Okay.
We are trying to make sure that the full ownership can be patriotic enough to be involved in government. And one way we can do that is to get them involved and show good faith.
And I hear you, and we will soon have to sort of go to the audience and take questions, but I want to just wrap up on this first. I mean, I hear you talking about enabling cheap money, for example, for people, for housing, maybe even SMEs and all of that. But what we find with our economy is that banks do not necessarily set out to charge interest rates of 21%. You talked about the macroeconomic, some of the fiscal policies. You have a central bank, for example, that is supposed to regulate some of these things. And I'm not quite hearing from you what are the things that you're going to do that will drive the sort of policies that would mean banks can comfortably borrow and borrow at a rate that is affordable to everybody. Because as I understand it, even as we talk now, banks themselves are struggling. And that might account for why their lending is also exorbitant, because they themselves are not necessarily completely liquid. And if you look at some of the policies that have happened over the last couple of years, you don't talk about it, but banks are in trouble in Nigeria.
Well, it's a structural problem. It's an economic structural problem. We have a system that is trying to control the inflow and outflow of FX. You have a system that is trying to peg your FX. You're trying to have a system that is import-driven as opposed to export-driven. So the imbalances you cannot manage. You have to go for a market-oriented, and that's why I said you have to have a market-oriented policy to create liquidity. It's the liquidity that is created that breaks down and solve the overall problem. But we're managing, that's why I say it's more public sector. We're managing the effects, oil,
How?
It's paid that for...
Are you going to merge exchange rates, for example, and go...
In the market driven to a point.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
So you just you float the Naira company?
No, we're not going to float the Naira. No, that's irresponsible. But we are going to create a means to create an inflow, liquidity in the system. Once there's liquidity in the system, the economics will adjust itself. We would create, looking at inflationary factors.
You're talking about FDI here?
FDI. You have a vibrant capital market.
Okay.
And all that will bring in the cash and equity required. Sorry?
Export, any ideas?
You will encourage export, you will have import substitution. You will make sure that you have true value for your value chain. Crude, for example.
Okay.
Every barrel must be accounted for. Okay. Every dollar must be accounted for.
I have to be careful not to then turn this into an interview. It's a town hall. I said I have to be careful not to turn it into an interview. It's a town hall. I'm enjoying talking to you, but I think I need to allow the audience to now come in with their questions, because that's really why we're here, so they can interact with you. There are two people, their hands are up. The lady in white and then the gentleman in a sort of yellowish Ankara. Please don't forget to tell us your name, and if the question has been asked, please don't ask it again, and don't give us any context or preference. Just go straight to your question, please. Okay.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Joseph Edgar. Mr. Abiola, a question. Your platform is PRP.
Right.
So, and you talked about the history of PRP. PRP is basically a socialist vehicle from its history. And now you're talking about market-driven policies. Now, how do you marry the two? Saying that your candidacy is issue-based. So how do you marry that seeming contradiction? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We will take maybe another one and then come back to you. So please just take notes. Otherwise, if you take too long.
Yeah, I greet my potential president and his vice. Just this simple question. Mr. Abiola, you don't sound believable to me. You know why?
Sorry?
You don't sound too believable to me.
Okay, good.
Because you were born, raised by possibly one of the richest men ever in Africa. How can you convince me that you espouse the ideology of PRP? PRP is simply Talakawa. And imagine if Aminu Kano were to be around today, would he possibly have chosen you that was born, raised in affluence to be their candidate? So it sounds incongruous. I can't marry them together. Thank you. I can't marry them. Thank you.
Thank you.
In many ways, they kind of related, the two questions.
Yeah.
So the history of PRP, socialist oriented, you're now talking market economy,
Right.
and the fact that your own background is pretty affluent, and whether you can be expected to empathize and represent the interest of the have-nots.
Thank you. I'll take the last one first. That's the easier one for me. I introduced myself once as somebody who grew up and started from very humble beginnings. That is English from coming from a very, very bottom background. I've never forgotten that. I grew up when I was born. I always joke with Harold that I was the houseboy in the house. Didn't have any cooks or anything like that. Yes, alhamdulillah, over time, wealth came. But even when it came, it took me forever to even know it came. And I still hold on to that till today. When I say I'm from very humble beginnings, I really mean that. There's no contradiction in that at all.
So you and your younger ones, different lifestyle.
Maybe the younger ones, but the first set of us definitely went through the mill,
Right.
for sure. I was born to students in England, came here, my father was a
England, they don't sound like
scholarship.
Talakawa.
Scholarship.
The fact that they are already in England, I mean,
My parents went there as students on scholarship. My father came from very, 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 very humble beginnings. I grew up in that. It took a while. They came back to Nigeria. They made good of themselves. And throughout that period, I remember going to staff school. I have a history, like so many of us. He has a history of growing up in the barracks. His father, ex-military. We've committed lives to this country. And there's nothing contradictory in that at all. We don't forget where we started from. I went to staff school. My mother was a teacher in Yaba College of Tech. I'd have to walk from University of Lagos to Yaba Tech, and so on and so forth. So if you check the backgrounds, there's no contradiction there at all. And for the same reasons, it only goes to show why I'm in the PRP. All our lives, even when the wealth came, we've always been a supporter of people. But we've never ever been capitalist as a doctrine. We've always helped. We've employed people across the board. We've had offices across Nigeria. Every state in Nigeria we've had offices. And we give advantage and we help. Scholarships, we've been the largest single entity that gave to education in Nigeria because we know what that does to change lives. I can sit here in front of you because I took my education seriously. And that's why you will listen to me today. So yes, there is no contradiction whatsoever in my doctrine, in my being in PRP. We've always been a people's person, a people's family, and we've always done what is the best interest for the majority first.
And I'm glad you sort of spent a bit of time talking about the personal things that are driving this decision to jump into politics. But I think I'd actually like to hear from Mr. Zagi that same question perhaps applied to you. Why are you drawn to a party that is sort of historically people's oriented? Is there anything in your own life, in your own upbringing
Absolutely.
that has influenced the decision to be with this party and not the PDP, APC, or any of the sort of myriad of other parties? Because I was reading about you, and it says you started in the PRP from the very bottom and worked your way up. So clearly there was something driving that. What was that?
Okay, naturally I should have gravitated to the PDP.
Exactly.
Because I come from a family that my father was a senator in the PDP. Yes. yes, and I should have naturally become a member of the PDP. He was senator in 1999. But everything about me has always been more for the people, support of the people. That's where I enjoy being with the people. And I have never been a member of the PDP for that reason. Yes, he's my father, and I would have supported him in one way or the other in his political career or campaigns, but never been a member of the PDP. And I was drawn to the party because of its ideology, because it's a party for the people, by the people. It's a party where they value human life, every human being, and equality of every human being. So if you are not drawn to that, and you say you want to be an entrepreneur, and you want to go into business, especially service, if you're not ready to think about and be for the people, if you think only about money when you go into business, then you've got it all wrong. Okay. You have to provide a service so that people will be glad to.
I want to do a quick follow-up question.
That real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
On my nomination as the candidate, I went back to the party and said, look, I want a party person. I'd go around and look for a vice presidential candidate, but I insisted I wanted a party person. I wanted somebody who understands the ideology of the party, understands it over the years, and its workings. And
to link that to the part of the question that the gentleman asked there, which is, how can you take a party which is known to be socialist oriented in nature and then present it to Nigerians as one that will go with policies that are market driven? And whether there's a contradiction there, or is it an evolution, or what exactly is it?
You can call it an evolution. You can call it new labor, old labor, like they had in England in those days. You can call it that. But you see, whatever the system is, it has to work for the people.
Right.
That is the thing. It has to be inclusive. And
so it's not about winning elections.
No, it's not about winning elections.
You're selling the soul of the party, so you
No. We're doing what is right to make sure the economy works for the collective good. We're doing what is right to make sure there's a liquidity in the system, to make sure that it works for everybody. We're doing what is right economically and balance that so we can have prosperity across the board. And that is why we take our position. Now, when there's a need for government to step in and make that difference, call it a hybrid if you like, to make that difference, then we will step in to do the appropriate thing to make sure we maintain a collective good.
But to add to it, Kudera, where in the world have you had a socialist movement that was not financed by a capitalist?
The Chinese is one. The Chinese is one.
Where?
The Chinese is one.
So the reality is, what you're saying is things have changed.
The Chinese is one.
You are looking at what works as opposed to just rigid ideology. Is that
some people call it social democracy. Social democrats.
Right.
Yeah.
The Chinese is one. The Russians to some extent.
I want us to sort of deal with a few more details, particularly around the economy. And then we'll go to some of our remote sites, which hopefully will be ready by then. There are sort of big things that are going on within the Nigerian economy at the moment. Subsidy is one of them. Big debt is one of them. Huge deficits, both in our budget, in trade, in a whole lot of other things. So if we start, for example, with subsidy, this government says it will remove subsidy. You are people oriented but driven by market. What is your answer to subsidy?
If the government is serious about removing subsidy, they should remove it today. They're kicking it down. They're kicking it down.
And if you become president, it becomes your problem. Yeah.
So that is fact number one. Number two, it's impossible to continue to sustain this because of the corruption and inefficiencies in the subsidy. What we would rather do is to cut out the subsidy and go for a cost of living adjustment or COLA.
Please explain.
Conveniently, or COLA, a cost of living adjustment. And and give that to the required and needed. Because the debt is there anyway. So remove that debt and give it as a cost of living adjustment to the needy and over 18. And then when you do that, they are free to use that money to do what they choose to, as opposed to a little clique who have just a briefcase and a computer, who churn out invoices for products that were never. The
Cash transfer program. How is what you're suggesting different, and what would give yours more integrity than what currently exists, which is sort of been very controversial in the way it's been run?
Let me help you with that country a little bit.
No, I'm just.
Let me come. When we talk about subsidy, who really benefits from that subsidy? Who? Go to the villages, go to the rural areas. How much is fuel? They use calculators to buy.
I am not arguing for subsidy.
No. I'm not. Let me walk you in. So yeah, you good. You mentioned that cash transfer thing. Are you getting it? Our government is subsidizing, I think, up to about 290 naira per liter, thereabouts. And that amounts, and they say we consume 666,800,000 liters daily.
Subsidy is supposed to be what, 6 trillion or something like that?
It comes out to about 580 something, or 560 or thereabout billion every month. 500 plus billion every month, which you give out as subsidies.
Annually, it's about.
Annually, yes, but I'm just talking about monthly. Now, you don't have another program called cash transfer, which you give out to 46 billion people, which is another 2 or something plus trillion every year. Now, what we're saying is, do away with subsidy. That money you do away with, you go into something like COLA, and take care of the same number. Because when you subsidize fuel, you actually should be subsidizing for every adult who could have a vehicle, a motorcycle, a keke napep, or a generator in his home.
Okay.
And that's about 109 million people.
Okay, and we will come back and talk about this, because what I'm interested in is, so cancelling subsidy does not automatically translate into money in government hands, because we are in debt and because of all of sort of the gaps that exist.
Yes.
So I want to talk to you about this, but Kano is ready. Bayero University, good evening.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Bayero University, Kano. My name is Stephen Enoch.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to Bayero University. Today we have Nura H. Adam and Hadiza Abubakar, who are ready to ask their questions. Let's start with Nura Adam.
Okay, thank you very much, Enoch, for giving me the opportunity to ask my question. Mr. Abiola, you have not ventured into public service. You have always been in business, among which are banking industry, Bank PHB, and Habib Bank, which you chaired into near bankruptcy. So your management skills seem to lack the depth of holding the highest office in the country. So how can you convince Nigerians that you can manage a complex system as Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nura. Now let's move to Hadiza Abubakar, who is ready to ask her question. Hadiza.
Thank you. So, Mr. Abiola, the ideology of the PRP is pro-people, pro-poor. Can you tell us one single project in Nigeria which used to pretend that is pro-people and pro-poor that has impact on the poor people? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bayero University.
Thank you very much, from Kano State.
Thank you very much, Bayero. Two simple questions.
Very simple questions. Number one, Bank PHB and Habib Bank. Habib Bank wasn't a failed institution before it got merged into PHB. But that's not so much the point. The point is that if you take out and take collectively what I have achieved in Nigeria in the private sector. So there's one little bad egg.
That's a little glitch. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry?
Is that a little glitch?
It's look, I've done a lot of good things that I'm not one to blow my own trumpet.
But if there's a time to blow your horn, it is now.
I've done so much that to the point that if you go to Taraba State, there's a whole local government named after me in Taraba because of what I achieved there. If you go to Edo State, you will see what I've done on oil and gas. We have even one of the first few refineries coming up very soon. Nobody hears about those things. But what you hear about is somebody talking about Abuja or collectively a lot of the industries we have in the past. I pray that we never have to, at a very tender age, I think I was 36, 37, have to fight the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because if you had, I have been able to take them on, I have survived it, and I've still standing today. And that is experience that I wish nobody has to ever go through. When the government fights you, they fight you with everything. But the idea is to chop off your kneecaps.
Okay. I'm sorry, I want to get a little bit personal because it's related to the question that was asked about track record. No, it's important. I'm just picking back on, and then you go back to the question on the project for the poor. At some point, you had a very public spat with your younger ones who accused you of all sorts of things around your father's estate because you're the eldest and the head of the family. And there are people who would look at that and say, someone who can't hold family together, particularly when there are small divisions, how does he hold, but even unite Nigeria, which at the moment is heavily fractured? So my question really is, have those rifts been closed? And if they have, are there lessons in that you feel enable you to even bring that to the healing that Nigeria requires?
I think collectively, alhamdulillah, I have gone through quite a bit from a very tender age that only tells me that God has some good things for me to achieve. I lost my father at 36. We are about over 50 of us. We have how many wives, how many mothers? Now tell me in good conscience, how many people of that age could have held it as well as I've held it to date? If I don't give myself the credit, I'm not saying I've done everything right. I'm not said I've only made one or two mistakes, but to have held it together this long, I think I've done one or two things right. Now, how many of us have been exposed to such at a very early age and are still standing? That is one.
Right.
Number two, my father himself will tell you that you can't all sleep with your heads facing the same direction. Even within my immediate siblings, we're united, but we always have a difference, but we settle them. Now,
Relate that to Nigeria.
to Nigeria, if you can deal at that age without many differences. But you know what? God has been kind to me. I lost, unfortunately, my mother first. It's a smaller family. That was a bit of a training. And then my father was basically dead 4 years before he actually passed. So what has happened was, while incarcerated, I could understand and see life for what it was. I could see that there are no friends out there. I could see, even within the family, I could know who is what, who does what, who you avoid, who you don't avoid, and so on and so forth. So I had that tutelage. God provided that for me before it became permanent. And all that experience from a tender age only makes me in a better position to rectify a country that is beginning to split along the seams, religiously, ethnically, and otherwise. But more importantly, what we miss is that there's no division between its future. It is present and its outgoing that are creating that division. But its future is intact. If my son is in here today, come on, with his friends and their funny hairstyles and their everything, you will never be able to tell, or Harold's son for that matter, they're in here today with their funny hairstyles and their pants almost falling off their hips. You will never be able to tell who is Muslim, Christian, East, West, North, or otherwise. That is the picture of Nigeria. They don't have that kind of issues.
Okay, and we have just 2 minutes to go. I know there's a question regarding projects and the poor, which I want you to answer, but I want to use the 2 minutes to actually bring him in, right? I'm particularly interested in talking to him about the same issue because he comes from the state where I was born, which is Kaduna. I love that place, right? But it has been traumatic for quite a while. Sectarian violence, ethnic strife, now compounded with, in newer security issues like kidnapping and all of that. And you have a military background, right? So if you take that into account, take your experience from where you come from, that diversity which used to be glorious, beautiful, now, pitted against itself. How do you see the project of, healing fault lines? What would be the sort of underlying principle for doing that for someone like you, given the military background, given where you come from?
Okay, firstly, I'll say I come from a village called Kwai, from Java local government in Kaduna State. I think, and I can put it on record, that we have not had those issues in my community. Why? Because I think the leaders in those communities do the right thing. Up till tomorrow, you come into that community, the paramount, the ruler in that place must know who you are, where you're coming from, what brought you there. Those are issues that must be done everywhere. You need to know who comes into your community, what is coming for, and then you settle him. And then for most of them, either Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, they come in. Actually, they take on one of the clans in the community and say, this is my clan. They go for meetings there. So that is we integrate them. And for that reason, I know stories of people who were traveling and they were stopped by a mob, even by the herdsmen or the kidnappers, and they said, where are you from? When the person mentioned is from Kwai, they said, oh, you people are good people. So we must be accommodating to one another. We must accommodate each other. Very important if we want to change this thing. And we must have leaders who are sincere. A leader, when you become a leader, you govern people, you govern everyone. You don't govern a certain sect or certain religion. You govern all. And I think it's not the issue of military background. It's not military might that will take us out of this. It's intelligence. How do you get intelligence? You get intelligence with people who are comfortable to give you intelligence report. You get intelligence from people. People are scared. There's institutional fear of the police. Today, police are supposed to be your friend, but people are scared of giving information to the police. Because the police is going to give the information to the person you are giving information on him. So you see, those are things that those are issues that we need to talk about. It's not by military might.
Okay. I'm going to stop you there. Yes, quickly there, because I
Look, I've said it before. Like you said, it's not by military might. Kaduna and the state should be the safest state in Nigeria. It has everything. Everything from the military to the Air Force to the police academy, work college, judging, everything is in that place. Why is it the most volatile? It's a lack of confidence in the system. Nobody trusts the governments, the leadership. And that's what it says. You have to build trust in people, and that applies to everywhere in Nigeria.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll carry on with this conversation and also hopefully link up with our remote stations. Don't go away.
Gala Media, in association with Cabal Entertainment, presents The Candidate, a presidential town hall media series where the presidential candidates of the 6 leading political parties tell us about their plans for the country. Join Kadalia Amle as she leads us into the world of these candidates from the 17th to the 23rd of November 2022. This very important program will be streamed on FRCN, Radio Now, DSTV, NTA, Facebook, YouTube, and more. This is a town hall meeting you shouldn't miss. Tune in. Let's hear from the candidates. Choosing where to study is one of the biggest decisions you will make in life. So, it is important to get it right. At Coal City University in Abuja, Nigeria, we pride ourselves on providing students a stable academic calendar and education of international standards. Coal City University gives students incredible personal attention and support. You can enroll in our regular programs and obtain a degree exclusively awarded by Coal City University. Alternatively, you can enroll in our international pathway programs, which will enable you to earn 2 degrees in 4 years from Coal City University and Delaware State University, United States. Visit www.ccu.edu.ng. Coal City University, education for self-actualization.
Welcome back. You are watching The Candidates, a Nigerian Media Town Hall series brought to you with the support of the MacArthur Foundation, the Nigeria Television Authority, the FRCN, Radio Now, Emmanuel Chapel, Zikoko Citizen, Silverbird TV, Trust TV, J&J Media, News Central Television, Plus TV, Kaftan TV, YouTube, and Out There Media, and Amedi. Now, there was one question from the audience that you had not answered, which was around whether you can talk about any of the projects that are designed for the poor currently in Nigeria. If you answer that, then we can, go to our remote locations and back to the
where do I start from? I annually pay WAEC exams on the state and federal level.
Okay.
This is not my best.
So you have like a foundation or something?
I just don't know how to play my own. God. But I think what's more important though is what value do I create in the communities in which I work. I've set one in Taraba to the point that I have a local government named after me. Abuja is in Taraba. I don't speak Fulani, but I think it's Kola's house. If you go to Agoko today, you will see what I've done there. If you go to Lafayette, you will see what I've done in the past. But you see, my achievements, like any other thing, or many of my life is very personal. It's like taking pictures. I hate taking pictures, but I have to take pictures now.
So let's see if we can use that to sort of expand the question to sort of be relevant to the job that you want to do, which is that of president.
I have been around. I have touched lives. I've made difference in the lives of people.
But you and I know that individuals do try, and it makes a difference to individual lives. But it takes institutions to lift society in the sort of numbers that are required for fundamental change. And really what would be useful is to hear if from what you've done on a private level, there are things you're thinking about and how you can scale them up and institutionalize them or make them part of governance in a way that would be significant.
Women. I've empowered a lot of women over the years. I start from my own private businesses. I take the drivers, especially their wives, ask them what they do. We empower them by selling pure water, oranges, buy them a refrigerator. Now what we found out is that for the driver himself, by the second week his salary is gone. But for his wife, there's always something coming in every day. And that's what actually puts food on the table. I have gone in Abuja, for example, provided cooperatives with enough money to have the women actually take their produce to market. What used to happen before was that the buyers would come from Benin and Asaba and all those places, buy on market day and go. And I told them, I took one of my staff to take them to the market and say, how much they are selling the same things they're buying from me. So what we've now done is to provide Vital, the money, which they bought pickup trucks, and they actually take produce to market themselves, and they're making a killing.
I think I want us to dive a little bit further into the gender conversation and how your government intends to maybe mainstream women participation, not just in politics, but in all facets of life. But let us join the University of Ibadan now, who are ready for us. Hello, Ibadan.
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening, Kadria. We're definitely live and listening to you right here from the University of Ibadan, Oyo State. I am Neo Desore, and we have two students who would like to ask questions of the candidate of the People's Redemption Party, Mr. Kola Abiola, and his vice presidential candidate. First up is Remy. Remy is right here as well. Remy, go ahead.
Good evening. And the first question is, last week, the National Bureau of Statistics claimed that the percentage of population living in poverty had increased to over 60%. What policy action or plan would you embark on within the next 100 days if to tackle poverty headlong and that would diminish the figures in record time? Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and aside from Remy, we also have Theodore, who also has a very interesting question as well.
Sir. So my question is relating to the economic brain drain that is happening in the country. What feasible plan will you put in place to reduce the amount of Nigeria's workforce leaving the country, because it's having more devastating effect on us currently? So what are you going to put in place to mitigate against the brain drain that is currently happening? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ibadan. I think I'll take two more from the hall to match them so that we have four and we can have a substantive conversation.
Right.
The lady in green. Yes, thank you.
And you take the first.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Iriti Bakari Yusuf. Right, my first question, of course, we're in World Cup season. And of course, your father was very, very popular in football. What I'd like to know is, do you intend to invest in grassroots sports, in particular talent scouting, employment with relation to administration, management, and to make sure that we get to the World Cup in 4 years' time? That's my first question. My other question, although somebody in Ibadan mentioned it, but it's slightly different. Given what we have with the population explosion in Nigeria, do you have any plans for population control? If so, what do you suggest? Because surely 216 million is far too much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else, or do we come back to the candidate? Okay, for now we'll come back to you. So there's like 4 questions.
Yes.
Urgent solution to poverty.
Security, first and foremost. Economics and security go hand in hand. Unfortunately, I'm sure if you look at those numbers, it's been impacted by the security situation in Nigeria to date. If you look, how do people go to farm? How do people go to market when they get kidnapped and they're held? How do you get persons to pay ransoms or what they call protection fees? This is the biggest one problem we have. So they go hand in hand. The day you have good leadership, the day you solve your security, you will definitely be solving a lot of your poverty problems at the rural level. Because if I remember those same figures, it says 70% is in the rural, and it shouldn't be the case, because in the rural, you don't need money to buy food. You grow something every season. And can't go Nigeria is a place that there's something every season. So if it's yams, that's a season, you eat it in the morning and boiled, you eat it fried in the afternoon or you pound it in the evening. You eat yam 3 times a day. Now, but because of the insecurity situation, coupled with your flood situation presently, the rural poor is going through a very, very bad situation. Now, the lack of infrastructure also hasn't helped. The setup cost in Nigeria is so high. Population in itself is not a problem. It's a sustainable growth that you need to make it work for a country. So,
and I think people kind of understand the problems, and the really what they're looking to you and Mr. Azego is to tell them how you intend to deal with this issue.
That's what I'm getting to now. Once we solve the security situation, there's going to be a massive improvement in the poor, on the rural side. That's one. 2, things like our cost of living adjustment, like I spoke about earlier on. Instead of giving the subsidy to the few, if you give that to the needed, it'll make a hell of a difference at that level. That is another way of dealing with that. But also, more importantly, we need to look, and like we say in PRP, every local government has an industry. Every local government must have an industry. Because there must be something that you specialize in or you know the most. We need to encourage that, and we need to encourage a lot of such, not just growing the raw material, but to process the raw material.
We have a lot of questions to answer, and the time is going very quickly. So, if you could just sort of wrap up on this by talking about, because the person in Ibadan was concerned about, say, like quick solutions within your 100 days. So, things like industry.
We're going to look at agri. We're going to, as well in the rural, it's agri. We're going to look at our river basin authorities that are born dead, root them up so we can irrigate and plant year round. We're going to have extension services. We're going to have all that. But like I said, it all starts with security. If the security is not there, nobody will.
What will you do about insecurity that is different from what is being done now?
No, there's a lot we can do.
Let me add a little bit to that question, the first question. Because a lot of times people will say agriculture, yes, but agriculture takes time. I think one of the first things you do is infrastructure. Which is what we will go into, infrastructure. Because infrastructure has a tendency of employing a lot of the mostly unskilled, even up to unskilled labor. That's one of the things we'll focus on, which is part of what government does. When economies in their streets, like this is what they do. A lot of infrastructural projects and infrastructure, roads, housing, and the rest of that, so that you can boost the economy. That's what we'll do. So maybe you can take the security issue.
Maybe we move to the question of the brain drain, because there's
brain drain. I was talking to someone. We were talking yesterday. I can't remember when. I think yesterday. Somebody said brain drain. Well, it's if you find yourself in this situation, you better have the brain drain, because that's where you have vibrant minds here who have gone to school, studied, and they don't have anything to do. Let them move. For now, until we get the system right. Until we get the system right so that we can accommodate them. Because right now,
how long will it take to get the system right under you two?
We'll hit the ground running.
You see, there's some very low-hanging fruits. For example, a lot of outsourcing jobs. It does, all you need to do is create internet enabling environment. You can be in Nigeria, and they do, a lot of youth do that today. They earn a foreign exchange from home. They do a lot of outsourcing activity. So it's that quick. You can set up the appropriate infrastructure.
33% unemployment rate. So many people also without skills, because our education system seems to have sort of failed in terms of sort of just creating people and giving them what they need in order to actually earn a living? How would you deal with those problems?
That's what he said about the infrastructure.
Okay, let's go there. You touched on another topic on skills. Now, I think the government has a program called Accelerated Basic Education Program, whereby it's an accelerated system where you bring in people who are out in the system that didn't go to school. You bring them back to an accelerated program. After that, you get to vocational training, and from there, all we're saying is that's a quick fix. It's a good policy. That should be fixed. But what we will add to it is that you should be trained in your local language, because it's a faster way.
Trained to do what?
Numeracy and literacy first.
Okay.
Then vocational skills. Vocational skills.
There are 200 and something languages in Nigeria. So when you say your local language,
They have 3 basic languages.
I'm surprised you say that.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of minority tribes that are large minorities that will be listening to you and wondering, why do the Hausas, the Yorubas, and the Igbos have to keep dominating us? Why do I have to learn in Hausa if I'm sitting in Plateau and my main language is Birom? Why do I have to learn in Yoruba?
Why do we allow certain things divide us?
So I'm asking, that's why I'm asking. I need you to respond to how you deal with those kind of agitations.
Of course you reduce it. Even to teach people in Hausa, you have to get people trained to do that.
Right.
To teach people in Yoruba, you have to get people trained to do that. So we're saying the lowest hanging fruits. Those are the ones that you will start with. Then you will go to Nupe, you will go to Tiv, you will go to Kanuri, you will go to all those ones. But you start somewhere.
Okay. I've just been told actually our languages are 500.
Okay.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
But you need to, like you said, you need to look at the immediate.
Is it easier to train somebody in English than it is to train him in a language he already speaks?
Absolutely, I think so. At least that's what the experts say. It's easier to do in the local language than to do in English.
So that's what we would say. And then you see the next stage of it, is after you train them on vocational skills.
Okay.
And one of the biggest problems is that you don't catch them into any database.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that. A lot of we like so much like certificates and we have the NDE.
Okay.
We have the NDE.
But there's still a question on grassroots sports, and control. But I want to quickly go to Enugu because they're ready. Let's hear from the people in Enugu. Hello, Enugu.
Good evening from Paul City University, Enugu, Nigeria. I am a former Ajimobi. We've got 2 students here and they have questions for. I've got Chimerem and Ben on standby to ask their questions. Chimerem.
Good evening, my name is Chimeremuma Ojenta from the Department of Computer Science in Coal City University. If elected, you will be inheriting the negative effects and impacts of flood. How would you deal with the current flood crisis in various parts of Nigeria? Thank you.
We have Benita on standby. Benita, let's hear from you.
Good evening. My name is Benita Ugu from Department of International Relations, Coal City University, Enugu. Mr. Abiola, what reforms will you implement to diversify the Nigerian economy and limit over-dependency on crude oil, sir? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Coast University, Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Enugu. I understand that the University of Maiduguri is also ready.
Good evening, Nigeria. Yes, good evening, Kadria. Good evening, Nigeria. This is Musa Osman from the University of Maiduguri campus here. We also have 2 students with questions for the presidential candidate and his running mate. First, we have Umar. Umar, your question, please.
My name is Awang Umar Garams from the Department of Mass Communication, University of Maiduguri. most of the small and medium scale enterprises in Nigeria are shutting down due to epileptic power supply. So as the presidential candidate, I would like to know your plans for the Nigerian power sector. Thank you.
Our next question is from Chigozie. Chigozie, your question, please.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Chigozie from the Department of Political Science. And my question goes like this. The global world is fastly advancing, and in tech, the global world is fastly advancing on tech, and tech becoming the gold for today. What plans do you have for Nigerians on tech-related issues? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Enugu and Maiduguri. Okay, quite a number of questions there. And if we could start by rounding up with the questions that were asked in the hall, and then we move to the ones with the university. So the question of grassroots support, sports and the legacy of your father.
But not too long ago, there was something called Youth Fund. Youth Fund, I forget exactly what it was. It was a youth development tournament where we go, mainly football, but we go and recruit from the very lowest levels to and get players all the way to Manchester United if we can.
This is run by you?
Youth Fund.
Yes.
So I advanced towards Man United. So we did that. Sponsored that for many years, where we go into the rural areas, we set up competitions between state clubs, and then we had a national event, and we had the best of talents go forward from there. We have to go back to that, but we have to expand that beyond football. We have boxing. We're looking at something sort of like a league. It will start as a regional league for any sport now, where the clubs, the players are, and then we'll have an investor come in as shareholders. So the revenues from that, you hold it tournaments amongst the different clubs in the regions. The revenues from that will go into the clubs and go into the players to give them a living wage. And then hopefully, you see, not too long ago, if you come today and say you wanted to play football for a living, that was years back, they will look at you and give you the beating of your life, your parents. They will tell you, look away, go and study. But you see, what has happened over the years now is that it's the so-called elite people that are sending their kids to football academies now to help them train to have careers in football and sports. So what has been a grassroots thing has become an elite thing now. We need to go back and turn that table. And what we want to do is to set up that league regionally, replicate it in the 6 regions, and then from the 6 regions, the best teams now come. So, but
do you have a general sort of philosophy and policy around the use of sports and maybe the creative sector and all of that,
yes.
And for young people? I'm not sure I saw anything like that in your manifesto.
Yeah, the manifesto is a doctrine that will follow, but under that you have your ABCs, in the implementation of that. Mm-hmm. And this is part of what I'm telling you now. Okay. Youth development, sports, Nollywood, Kannywood, the creative entertainment industry is a very, very huge industry, and even at foreign exchange and in Nigeria. Mm. What we need to do is to find a way to bring and manifest that income at home. What we need to do is to have a body that comes together to chart and document and make sure that the royalties are paid to the entertainers. That is something we're looking at and we're putting in place. We also want to create avenues where you can actually earn a decent living while doing it. It's not just out of love or out of talent anymore.
Okay.
We also want to get and develop sports academies. We have a lot of our stadiums nationwide that are rotting away for lack of use.
I don't mean to rush you, but I'm almost going to force you to do rapid fire answers to some of these questions because we're fast running out of time. I know 2 hours sometimes seems like a lot until you start talking. Chinelo had from Enugu had a question around flooding. Also from Enugu we had a question around how you're going to diversify away from crude. I don't know who wants to sort of take.
I said something before in the past. Since 1984, when I got back, working at Abuja farms, there's always been floods. Every year, once they let KNG and Shiroro dams loose, you get floods downstream. And every year, you get your meteorological society give a warning, but nothing is ever done. Your National Environmental Disaster Agency is fully funded, but they're never there. Now, part of the problem is the preparedness and the lack of it. But more importantly, our inland waterways are meant to be infrastructures that we should exploit. Those rivers have to be dredged. They
don't have an inland revenue service.
We have inland waterway board.
Yes,
they're not dredging anything.
Right.
So the silt levels are so high that you will continue to have monstrous problems as the years go by. Now, if we drain those seas and dredge them, they become useful economic tools for us. It becomes part of our infrastructure plan and network to move goods and services around Nigeria. It will be a cheaper option. It will take the heavy beating off our roads also. So we need to look at it in a total ecosystem. We don't just
how does climate change play into this from your point of view?
Well, there's definitely a bit of that, but in our own case, it's man-made. It's just a disaster waiting to happen, and it's going to get worse because we have never taken the steps we should take. Because of the poverty level, we have a lot of us cooking with firewoods and so on and so forth. Deforestation and all that doesn't help, I accept. But also, we can mitigate a lot of that by making sure that government does what it should do and making sure that our waterways are desilted and we use them appropriately.
On the question of diversification, I thought maybe you could take that, given that you sort of run various businesses and you're not sort of working in oil and gas, as I understand it.
Pardon?
Diversification.
Yeah.
So there was a question asked about how you intend to ensure that we are not continuing to be dependent on oil. And I said, given your background in sort of multiple industries, because I understand you've worked across different businesses, I thought maybe you're best positioned to answer that question.
Okay. Diversification. Obviously,
I mean, are you bothered, first of all, by the fact that 50% of all, government revenue is from oil, 90% of foreign exchange from oil?
yeah, one is bothered because if something happens in that sector, that means we go broke. So obviously we need to diversify our economy, and that's why a lot of times we're talking of agriculture and we're talking about, when you come to agriculture, it's not about just agriculture and just going to farm and take out the produce and sell. You need to process it. You must add value to it. It's in that value addition that you get the returns you ought to have. So in everything we do, we have the mining industry. What are we doing? All of that, we take the goods, we export virtually raw. And it goes, you don't add value.
So how will you make sure that doesn't happen anymore?
Pardon?
How will you make sure that doesn't happen anymore? That
a lot of times it's not
commodities. Excuse me.
A lot of times it's not by fear; it is by educating the artisanal miner, by educating the farmer, by letting the farmer know that one. For instance, if you have worked at that level, you know that some of the farmers, when they take their goods to market, they put, because they buy a lot of times, and goods, farm produce are bought by weight. So they put a lot of...
But value add surely is more than about knowledge. If you don't, if farmers might know, I mean,
let me explain something to you.
If you haven't built the infrastructure, if you haven't given them the capital...
You start from little things.
Right.
The cost of, okay, I come from a ginger producing area. There are different grades of ginger based on how you harvested, you split, and you dried it, and what's the content of impurity in it. If you make sure you get the grade 1, grade A, the cost is higher than grade B or grade C. Same ginger. The same thing with any other crop. If you make sure you practice good agricultural practices in everything you do, you get the quality. So you start, I can't tell someone in the ginger and say, oh, go and start processing it till you get the ginger powder. No. Or you say, get
Can you afford to say for 1 year you're going to just be teaching
No, it's practical. He talked about extension studies.
Is that practicality? Because I'm listening to you, and let me tell you where the frustration is. So sometimes when I do these things, people say to me, you keep interrupting people. I'm interrupting people because I am not able to hold to Nigeria right now is full of problems. I remember the young man who asked the question from one of the campuses. He put the caveat of in your first 100 days. So people are also looking for people who, when they come in, will be able to do things that are immediate, that bring immediate relief. And yet when I listen to you, it's almost as if you think you have all the time in the world. First you teach them about grades, then you provide the infrastructure, before then you begin to export. It's almost like, oh, am I misunderstanding you?
Can I just say one or two things? Yes. In addition to what he said, it's all about import substitution.
Okay.
Okay? There's a lot that goes out today, especially on the produce and agri side, that is not accountable in our books. We need to create a window that has sort of like an SGF, where we grade and make sure it's documented and the revenues come back into the system. But right now, anybody just wakes up and goes, puts stuff in a container, sends it out. It's not graded, it's not nothing. It gets there, even if it's a grade A, it gets there and the buyer now tells you, no, it's rubbish. I pay you peanuts. But even that peanuts doesn't get repatriated in the system. So what we need to do with Export Promotion Council and all these little things put together is to have a proper testing verification process for a lot of our produce,
to quality
of our goods. Sorry?
Quality control.
Yeah. And put those things, and once you come through that process, at least you can document it.
Right.
And then when it goes out, we can trace the value of the transaction and make sure that those funds come back into our coffers and we account for them. That is one big thing that needs to be done. Secondly, a lot of
for road projects to Yobe, Kebbi, and Taraba states as recommended by the House.
As we get there. And like I said, it's all about making sure that we take from the different regions what is available and what can be value added and put to work very quickly. We need to get all these agencies because a lot of them have the facilities there. It's sort of like you speak about the creative industry, the CBN fund with the banks that give 9% interest. Okay, it's not available or readily open to people. So what we need to do is to make sure that those things are actually put to work.
Right. So let's quickly move to power, which, as you both know, is also a critical component of a fully functional society, both from the economic point of view, but also from the sort of social side, yes, and environmental and all of that. How will you deal with Nigeria's perennial power issues?
You see, for us, we still believe in using what we have. We have the oil. Let us make sure we get the value from the oil. Let us make sure we get that value, extract that value ethically with the best environmental practices.
So you are talking oil and gas?
Oil. because it comes with the gas.
Right, okay.
Now, what we now do subsequently is to now tell ourselves, how do we best utilize that?
Right.
You see, you have what, 6,000 odd products from a barrel of oil. Those are value-added products, petrochemicals, plastics, and those things, if they are done locally, will bring down the cost of business drastically. So we can't forget that.
Your energy power policy is still largely dependent on crude. Is that what I'm hearing?
No. It's a mixed bag.
Okay.
It's a mixed bag. We will look at the regionally, what is available in each region. If you hydro you have the most, we would use hydro. If it's gas you have, we will use gas powered. But more importantly, we have one grid system right now. That transmission line must stay for national security reasons as a public.
So you will maintain transmission lines, but we have.
But we will now regionalize the lines based on the 6 regions we have.
Right.
And then we will take all.
We haven't done well with a centralized control of transmission lines.
It's a national security region. There's nothing. It will work provided we make it work. It's all about accountability. If you don't hold people accountable, these things will not work. Let's do what is right, and then we'll see.
Will you do anything at all to either tweak, improve, cancel, or start again afresh the privatization of the sort of power assets that has happened? So both generation and distribution have been privatized, but the companies, as you know, are struggling. MBET, which is the sort of bulk power purchaser that is supposed to have been like a bridge agency, is still alive and well, but apparently broke and not able to pay generators for the power that they are giving to distributors. It's a whole mess.
That's because the thing never worked right from day one. All the steps that were supposed to come in. Look, national power is a collective responsibility, even in the law. It's a responsibility of the federal government, the states, and the local government. That's the law. So we have to design things around that. That's why we're going back to the original setup. That's the law. But also, more importantly, generating is one thing. Distribution is more the customer-facing bit of it. Transmission is one, generate, but the more the customer-facing side of it is the distribution. That is where the problem is most of the time. But you have to have a mixed.
You're only generating about 12,000 megawatts.
Yeah, but even if you generate what you can't even transmit it.
You can't reel it.
You can't reel it.
Okay.
You can only reel about 6,000.
The University of Abuja is ready. When we come back to this, let us speak to Abuja first. Hello, University of Abuja.
Hello, good evening, Kaderia. Thank you for joining us here at the University of Abuja. I'm Ruth Aguele. The students are already set with their questions, so we go with just 2. And I'm starting with Shuaib.
My name is Aliu Shuaib Omeza from the Department of Accounting, University of Abuja. My question goes to Mr. Presidential Candidate. Based on your experience in the private sector, how can you ensure the government partners with the private firms in ensuring that more jobs are created and the revenue are intensified?
Thank you.
Creation of job. Okay. Antonia is the next.
Good evening. I am Antonia Abba from the Department of Public Administration, University of Abuja. My question is, what is your opinion on increased autonomy to state governments and regions, and how do you think it affects the question of community policing? The second one is, anybody elected as president will be faced with a deficit budget in the first year of his administration. How do you intend to fund this deficit budget if you get elected? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And because we have very little time, if Bayelsa is ready, we should take Bayelsa on. Can we go to Bayelsa, please, so that we conclude?
Thank you very much, Kaderia. Good evening and welcome to Bayelsa Center. My name is Victor Binawari. We have 2 people that will be asking questions this evening. The first is Theophilus. So over to you, Theophilus.
All right, good evening. My question for you, sir, is
how do you deliver justice and equity to all Nigerians as regards to those in offices that have misused our public funds?
Okay, quickly we'll go to the next person, and the next person is Dinipri.
Blessman Dinipri is my name. To the candidate, my question is on the development of the Niger Delta area. Knowing that the development is not commensurate with the wealth that is going out of the Niger Delta area. Eventually, when you become the president, what holistic steps will you take to develop the Niger Delta area that is producing the oil that is servicing this country? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the questions from
Thank you very much, Abuja and Bayelsa. Okay, there was a question we carried over. Remember the concept of carrying over, which was on tech, and how you intend to, as a team, help us develop our tech industry, which is essentially what the world is all doing. Maybe if we start from there before we go to these new questions.
Okay, I think I kind of touched on that earlier when I said we need to create an environment. You see, a lot of the jackpots we have are tech related in most cases. And unfortunately, even now tech abroad is laying off massively. We saw that with Twitter, we've seen that with Facebook, we've seen that with Amazon lately, and it's going to continue. It's a trend. What we need to do is to create an environment for them to stay, but still have an opportunity to earn offshore. And there are a lot of outsourcing going on, there's a lot of coding going on, there are a lot of things like that that are actually being done in Nigeria by Nigerian youth today without even stepping out.
Okay.
Let us create that.
Yeah, and I'm hearing what you're saying. So they are in Nigeria, spending here, family here, everything here, but they are earning abroad.
Absolutely, yes.
And what is the impact of that, though, on our own? Because it seems to then suggest we are not developing a tech ecosystem that is capable of also employing people in tech.
Now, one thing we're going to also do as a government, and I must commend the present administration for the new startup bill. We are going to take that startup bill. We had plans of doing something similar, but we're going to take it one step, 2 steps further. We're going to create out of the Sovereign Wealth Fund a tech fund that is open, will serve as a venture capital fund for anything tech in the diaspora. And when I say the diaspora, as long as you're of African descent anywhere in the world, you can tap into that fund, provided you come home to Nigeria to set up. So we will fund, we would invest, we would attract, use that to extract.
Sounds to me like you're saying government is going to get involved in stuff
we must
agree that private sector can do better.
No. Even there, the private sector is what funds a lot of the discovery. Go to all the universities you have out there. It's either military funding, government funding that is spoiling out all this technology that goes private. The funding comes first from military or from government funded programs that now go commercial. If you don't see the industry itself go out there and put out the research money first.
And the final conversation we'll have is about how you're going to fund all this, but I don't want to interrupt you until you've gone through.
I just said it's going to come from your Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Hang on, I know. Yeah. I want to delve into that a bit further, but I don't want to divert you from the multiple questions you have to answer. Because there was one about partnership with the private sector and how you're going to encourage that. So you can sort of
Now, we spoke about earlier about a market development to create liquidity. So the PPP format for infrastructure development, for example, it has to be very transparent, but also we're creating liquidity so they can source funding from the market. Now, as to whether the government comes in at some point and subsidize the interest rates, it's another thing entirely, depending on the project we're looking at. So that's another avenue we're looking at coming together. We also have areas where you can get tax breaks. What we will not do is substitute government responsibility and concede that to private.
Yeah, what I'm not clear about is where that demarcation is, what you're leaving for government and what you're leaving for private sector. And I think what we will do is if we let you, as part of your wrap-up, to sort of clarify that. Because I think the people who've asked these questions deserve to get answers. So I don't want to divert away from that. There was a question on the increased independence of regions and states, and whether you would consider state policing.
Well, in PRP, on our manifesto for the last 50 years is true federalism. We're a big champion of that. But you see, we play politics with it a lot. Some call it genuine federalism, some call it restructuring. But for us, one thing we will guarantee Nigerians is that we win 2023 as long as it's within the Constitution, as it is today. We will go as far as we can on that. One example is devolution of powers to your local governments. These are things that I think the present administration is trying to put a science executive order for financial autonomy. And not every single governor that talks about restructuring has opposed it. In Lagos State, in the National Assembly, Lagos State voted against it. So,
how will you make it happen then?
Now, very good. Every state in which PRP wins will implement it from day one.
Some of those things, before they go to, okay, so there are things you can sort of do at the state level,
right?
But there are some things that before you domesticate, you have to get them passed at the National Assembly.
Within the Constitution, there's so many things you cannot do on restructuring or true federalism because you're limited by the Constitution.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying, because when people talk about true federalism, there are sort of things that are within the concurrent and the things that are within the exclusive lists that people sometimes point to. And let me give you an example of what's happening now in the National Assembly. We've had an attempt to make adjustments to the Constitution. Some of those things have been passed at the center and they're failing at the state level. But there are things that even at the center, people are not agreeing on. So I'm trying to find out what your plan is for getting consensus around some of these things, because by your own admission, there are places where, once you get there and the conversation starts, it all scatters.
It's in the Constitution. There's some things you can do today as far as our Constitution is right now.
So you start with those.
We start with that first.
Give me an example.
Devolution of powers to your local governments.
Right.
Instantly is there. Any PRP state will implement it for you.
You realize you won't be a governor.
It's part of our manifesto.
And so you're confident your governors won't go there?
It's part of the manifesto. It's a manifesto they've agreed to work with. It's there. It's always been there. And we will actually practice
manifestos that they have jettisoned in the past. No. Okay. Give your word to Nigeria.
This is our word to Nigeria. Whatever can be done nationally, whatever can be done at the state level, based on the Constitution to date, we will. And then I think it was at the those conferences they had.
Yeah, Zego, because of time, I want to bring Zego.
Jonathan and the other one. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just bring Mr. Zego in very quickly because, clock, time. There was a question regarding justice and equity and the misuse of public funds and how you intend to ensure that people are held accountable.
Well, Nigeria is a country of laws.
Exactly.
The law clearly says what
people don't follow the law.
People don't follow the law because the leadership allows it.
Exactly.
What we're saying is that we will allow the law take its course, and if it says we throw the book at you, we throw the book at you.
Exactly.
That's all. There's no other interpretation. The law is clear.
But some of the problems are actually agencies charged.
You have to remember that we come in fresh. We come in without any baggage, so we have not been part of that system. So it's easy to throw the book at a person. Well, if you come in with a baggage, obviously you cannot throw the book because you could be throwing the book at yourself.
Look, exactly where I was going. We've never been in the center. We don't come with the legacy issues, we don't come with the baggage. We are there to go there to objectively look at how best to make things work for Nigerians. So
the reason I'm giving you that...
So the rule of law is there. The independence of the judiciary is there. And we will enforce that. Even if you give us the opportunity to, we will not just jail. We will make sure that you will do at least a minimum of your jail time before you even
And I promise I'm not, I'm not doubting your intentions. It's just that historically, we have sat, we have heard people say we as individuals are above board, and therefore when we come, we will lead by example, and everybody will line up and do the right thing, and that is the way we are going to enforce the rule of law. It has not worked.
We are the future.
Well, one of the things we say is that we should be held accountable.
Even ourselves.
And then in all
you give up your immunity, because it's very difficult to work for vice president.
No, two different things here.
Yeah?
You do not, you see this, it's like state governors having immunity. Really, I don't have issues with that because the system is not mature enough.
But then how are we going to hold you accountable if we can't prosecute you? We can fail to do the things that you say you
prosecute. The law says I can say you are guilty. I can go and make a case to a House of Assembly. And if I make a case to a House of Assembly, it's up to them to do what is right. But if they don't do what is right, you better don't plan to leave office at some day. Because we have a case waiting for you. We would go through the law. We won't go by fiat to remove governors and then have them go to court and use that same court to come back. That we will not do. We will go to court. We can come to present to.
There's a question from Bielsa that I really want to take, which is about how you will protect the Niger Delta, ensure equity. They've spent quite a considerable amount of time, decades, providing the major wealth of this country. They're facing degradation, environmental, all sorts of things. So how do you ensure equity? And I think this is an important question because just today, we saw the president, for example, at a ceremony to begin the exploration of oil in Bauchi State. So the oil producing areas are set to expand. The ones we've had before, we have not treated judicially. We've poisoned their water, poisoned their farmlands, and done all sorts of things. How are you going to get justice for them? And how do you ensure that the new ones coming on board, on stream, do not face the same problems?
Look, it all goes to leadership at the end of the day. Look, there is no excuse for Bielsa to be one of the poorest states in this country. We were just discussing that today. Bielsa is on the list, after Sokoto is Bielsa, on that index. Does that make any sense? Is that the leadership that comes from the center or the leadership that they elected as officers in their own states? When we have a governor build a bridge across to a golf course at the expense of
they know all this and they are saying, what are you going to do about it?
I'm telling you, it begins with leadership. Your problem starts from the house. You want to buy fish, you start from smelling the head. Even domestically, the leadership they've elected in Bielsa for the last how many years have we been around? What have we done? And Bielsa should be utopia. Considering the population and the amount of monies they get on a monthly basis, is the observation. Unfortunately, it's the leadership.
Yes, we run out of time as well.
Oh, God.
And so, despite my best efforts to try and extend this, it will not be possible. So I'm going to give you guys all 30 seconds for you and a minute for you to just wrap up and tell the electorate maybe your unique selling point and why you really think come February they should make you president and vice president.
Thank you.
We're going to establish leadership from the front. We'll lead from the front, and we'll make sure that we move this country from being the poverty capital of the world to a very progressive and prosperous nation, a center of excellence, and we're going to do that by through smart investments in the economy, in the areas of infrastructure, creatives, agriculture, and the likes, and also human development. So those are what we've been doing.
Thank you, Mr. Zego.
Well, we're the party of the future. We're here to bridge the gap between the past and the future. We're here to mentor the future leadership politically, governance, and leadership in Nigeria. But more importantly, a vote for PRP is a vote for 711 candidates nationwide. So we're bringing in a fresh new set of people. We have a younger set of governors running in this country and legislators. So
thank you very much, Mr. Abiola and Mr. Zego, for joining us for this 5th edition of the candidate. And that's it for the candidates for today. We want to thank the MacArthur Foundation, NTA, FRCN, Radio Now, Emmanuel Chapel, Zikoko Citizen, Silverbird Television, Trust TV, Nigerian Media, New Central TV, Plus TV, Kaftan TV, YouTube, Out There Media, and Amede. Join us tomorrow for a finale that promises to be amazing. Okay? Have a wonderful evening and see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Driver, stop. Where will they go see? Na Qatar they rush go so. Qatar. I get the tap JC for you. Give me this one. Sharp. This one will make sense for you. Nice one, I like that. Fine. Guy, don't tell me to the go now. Wow, my brother, welcome to Qatar 2022. Bro, this is amazing.
Qatar 2022 go hit you, Yakata. On Coco TV Super. Enjoy all the 64 games live for your domot. Make you catch all the action and commentary for English, Pidgin, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba.
Good header, good goal.
Go TV. Love it. latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel.
And welcome to another amazing edition of your weekend.
I'm telling you, it has to be heat, it has to be steamy, it has to be hot. But we decided that somebody has to tell a story that is family oriented.
Welcome to another edition of Talking Movie. Who's everyone here cared about?
See, when you say pour out, you can't call water. You don't extragolate water.
This is a #1 program, Valerie.
Do you love to gist or gossip?
It's not it is extremely wrong. And we love it.
Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Whip and Grill.
Welcome to the slang today, where we say it as it is and we get to enjoy ourselves talking about various things that are happening in our society.
One 6 packs. So your job still remains as the man to protect the woman, to project the woman. You need to do that.
NTA, you can't reach.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on the link, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International. Your window through the world.
Bauchi and Gombe joined the League of Oil Producing States as President Buhari flags off drilling site at Kulmani.
The project promises many benefits for the nation.
Redesigned Naira notes to be unveiled this Wednesday, 3 weeks earlier than scheduled date.
We have a responsibility to position Nigeria in such a manner to attract the much needed foreign direct investment in the sector.
Plus, Vice President Osinbajo in Canada meets with counterparts to further strengthen bilateral relations between the two countries. and welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Enwe John, and we're live in Abuja. Adola Komi-Okere joins me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. And just a quick reminder that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nt.ng/live, and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. An oil drilling integrated development project has been flagged off in the Kolmani oil and gas fields in the Gongola Basin of northern Nigeria's Upper Benue Trough. This followed the discovery of over 1 billion barrels of oil reserves, about 500 billion cubic feet of gas, and huge potential of more deposits in the area, straddling Bauchi and Gombe states. President Muhammadu Buhari performed the historic and significant ceremony in furtherance of his administration's commitment to promoting balanced economic growth, industrialization, and prosperity for all citizens. State House correspondent Adam Musambo has the details.
The integrated development project, now in its first phase, entails the establishment on site of 120,000 barrels per day oil refinery, a gas processing plant of up to 500 million standard cubic feet, a 300 megawatts capacity power plant, as well as a fertilizer plant of 2,500 tons per day. President Muhammadu Buhari described the landmark event as significant in the economic history of Nigeria, considering the unsuccessful attempts in the past decades to find commercial oil and gas outside the established Niger Delta Basin. Already, the Kolmani Integrated Development Project, the President noted, has attracted over $3 billion worth of investments.
A fully integrated in situ development project comprising upstream production, oil refining, power generation, and fertilizer. The project promises many benefits for the nation. This includes, but not limited to, energy security, financial security, food security, as well as overall social economic development for the country.
The NNPC Limited and our strategic partners are under instruction to sustain efforts at utilizing and leveraging their vast asset portfolio across all operational corridors to de-risk the Kolmani project towards attracting the much-needed investment. Lessons learned from Nigeria's years of experience as an oil-producing nation, the President said, must be effectively utilized in the greater interest of the economy and the host community.
I congratulate you all and look forward to the successful delivery of the Kolmani Integrated Development Project, another vital pillar in the country's economic architecture.
The entire people of Bauchi are going to ensure this turns out to be a success story, Mr. President. This project is going to be one of your most important legacies. It will not only assist the country in generating more revenue, it will also create jobs, fight poverty, and also bring national integration. I would like to assure you of the commitment of our local communities and traditional institutions, working closely with the security agencies and other critical stakeholders for the successful implementation of this noble project. Gombe State is ever willing to provide all the required facilities and support to complement the work of existing NNPC facilities.
Various messages of goodwill in support of the project were delivered by key personalities present, including the APC presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Mr. President, you've charted a way where they say there's no way. Today, you gave us a path to prosperity. This government will provide multiplicity of opportunity and great prosperity for Nigeria. We will continue. Mr. President, I believe that before we leave next year May, we can still discover more Kolmanis across the frontier bases. We should be and we must be in a hurry to do so, because the Petroleum Industry Act has provided stable, assured, and guaranteed source of funding.
The Kolmani Integrated Development Project is being handled by the NNPC Limited, Sterling Oil Exploration and Energy Production Company Limited, as well as the Northern Nigeria Development Company Limited. From the Kolmani oil fields in the Gongola Basin of the Upper Benue Trough, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
We have more on the Kolmani oil drilling in the course of the bulletin. But for now, the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NTA, and the NNPC Limited, among other stakeholders, and the oil and gas industry have reiterated commitment to the speedy implementation of provisions contained in the Petroleum Industry Act, which they also agree must be holistic in approach. This was at a multi-stakeholders forum on development of an implementation strategy in Abuja. Benny Adams brings us details.
This action on the 16th of August 2021 is described by industry players as the dawn of a new era. It is the signing into law the Petroleum Industry Bill, an act built on principles of competitiveness, fair and equitable sharing of risks and reward, revenue split between government and investors. 15 months after, these stakeholders are meeting to strategize on diligent implementation of the act.
I'm pleased to report that some of the projected benefits of the PIA have already begun to manifest in NNPC Limited, particularly in the areas of corporate governance, operational efficiency, and business growth. We also have a responsibility to position Nigeria in such a manner to attract the much needed foreign direct investment in the sector, while at the same time supporting our revenue drive, the growth plan, and resource mobilization.
NTA, as part of its obligations, is currently working to review all the enabling laws that are accommodated within the PIA.
We are expanding our capacity, we are expanding our database, and we are currently building a world-class database center that will be able to equip us to play the role we are expected to play under the PIA.
They all resolve to ensure total implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act in order to unlock its potential for the benefit of all Nigerians. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
And now heading to the National Assembly, President Muhammadu Buhari has transmitted bills seeking to amend the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act and Extradition Act to the Senate for consideration. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko reports.
In Nigeria's
the presiding officer, Deputy President of the Senate, Ovie Omo-Agege, read the executive communications from President Muhammadu Buhari.
The Ministry of Justice and the relevant stakeholders reviewed our existing Extradition Act 2004 and the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act 2018 and found it was not in conformity with Criterion 39 of the Financial Action Task Force on Money Laundering.
The President also sought the confirmation of Lanre Bajabiamila as the Director General of the National Lottery Regulatory Commission for a second and final term. Senate has considered the report of its ad hoc committee on the investigation of oil theft in Nigeria, which observed that between January and August this year, Nigeria has lost over $2 billion to oil theft. Senators condemned attempts to interfere with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act.
NUPRC should expedite the deployment and strict enforcement of the advanced cargo oil declaration solution. And the PID was to address these abnormalities and misappropriation. But look at the bill, the law in place, they are not obeyed. And nobody is talking.
That Nigeria should seek international financial collaboration to check illegal letters of credit used to fund the sale and purchase of Nigerian stolen crude.
The National Center for Women Development Act Amendment Bill, sponsored by Senator Bita Piafi, the Federal Polytechnic, Cabo, Federal University of Health Sciences, Azare, and the Federal College of Education, Jama'a Bauchi State Establishment Bills, sponsored by Senator Jibrin Barau, were passed. The bill seeking to give legal backing to the Nigerian Police Special Forces and its training school, sponsored by Senator Alim Dume, and the Nigeria's Agricultural Harvest and Processing Free Zone at Tanganyi, Benue State, sponsored by Senator Patrick Abamoro, passed second reading. Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Public Procurement has scrutinized the 1.7 billion 2023 budget of the Bureau of Public Procurement. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has communicated the House of Representatives seeking the establishment of the National Social Investment Program. The bill provides legal and institutional framework to assist and empower the poor and vulnerable in Nigeria. National Assembly correspondent Namiali reports.
The Social Investment Program Establishment Bill was among the 5 referrals from President Muhammadu Buhari to the House of Representatives for consideration and approval.
Pursuant to Section 18 of the National Park Service Act, I forward here with the National Park Declaration Act 2022 for the kind consideration of the House of Representatives. The National Park Declaration Order 2022 seeks to establish 10 new national parks, while I hope that the request will receive the usual expeditionary consideration of the House. Please accept, Mr. Speaker, the assurance of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari.
Plenary featured the second reading of the bill from Suleiman Gumi seeking the establishment of the Bureau of Defense and Logistics to manage acquisitions and procurements for the armed forces in a manner that is transparent and accountable.
The proposed law is also designed to reduce the cost of providing logistics for the military when replicated in Nigeria. This move is premeditated on the need to encourage more financing and funding methods, including development and expansion of local production of military hardware.
5 bills were read the third time and passed, including the bill seeking the establishment of a trust fund for the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC). Meanwhile, the House has approved the issuance of promissory notes worth 27.8 billion naira as refund for road projects to Yobe, Kebbi and Taraba states as recommended by the House Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And on bilateral relations, Nigeria remains Canada's biggest trading partner in Africa, and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and the Canadian Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland had a bilateral meeting to further strengthen this position, as well as improving educational collaboration, technology and creative industry, among others. State House correspondent Gideon Ifade reports.
This panel of artwork has features which are familiar to most Africans. The basket dotted with cowries, 2 eagles and 2 women right at the market square. The theme it carries is trade and the sharing of ideas and goods. Nigeria and Canada have come a long way and taken this comfortable walk to improve trade, share ideas, and further deepen the diplomatic ties is the reason for this meeting.
So we had a good conversation. We had a good conversation on how to support, women and youth, because there was a particular minister for women, and we wanted to understand how, to address the care issues. There was another senator who wanted to understand how some of the developing issues and issues in developing countries, how to address other school children. So we talked about how Nigeria is making effort on those aspects.
Discussion centered around the areas where we can welcome Canadian businesses, investors into Nigeria, and where we can give more information. The sectors include power. We also made the case for infrastructure, roads, networks, rail. So those are the things that the private sector, we need our infrastructure deficit to close. So we welcome investments and PPPs in that area.
So our Vice President explained that why, countries like Nigeria are ready to actively get engaged in climate change adaptations. We stated the need for gas as a transition fuel, especially for countries like Nigeria, so that it can quicken the pace of industrialization.
One of the indicators of good bilateral relations between two countries is the number of times high-ranking officers exchange visits and deepen diplomatic relations. in Ottawa, Canada. Jude Onifade, NTA News.
Many thanks, Judy. This is the Network News. Time for a break. Please stay.
Government and good people of Gombe State, I wish to express our profound gratitude to the President and Commander-in-Chief, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, for performing the official flag-off of the Kolmani Integrated Development Project, which heralds the commencement of the drilling of crude oil in the Kolmani oil field, putting Gombe and Bauchi states in the club of oil-producing states in Nigeria. Mr. President, the actualization of this project is a demonstration of your desire to leave Nigeria better than you found it, breaking the jinx of hydrocarbon resources prospecting in northern part of the country. This development will indeed open up our communities to unlimited opportunities and great prosperity that would change our lives forever. Our sincere appreciation also goes to members of the National Assembly, governors of the 19 northern states, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, the board and management of the NNPCL, and all other partners and stakeholders for their contributions to the realization of this noble project. Words alone cannot express how thankful we are to Mr. President for making this dream a reality. Signed, Muhammadu Inwa Yahaya, Damajan Gombe, Governor, Gombe State. Announcer.
We are committed to the unity of our great country, Nigeria. Let us support our armed forces. Let us stand together with them. Let us stand for them. Our symbol of unity, the gallant men and women of the armed forces on land, air, and sea, who have continuously put their life on the line, protecting our lives, humanity, and nation.
Let us join them and stick together as one, irrespective of our misunderstanding, be it political, cultural, or ideological.
Our uniqueness is our oneness, our strength is our diversity.
Let us stand by, stand with, and support our armed forces to keep this nation together.
Nigeria is my own. Nigeria is your own. Nigeria is our own.
The Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, CON, cordially invites stakeholders and the general public to the flag-off ceremony of the reintroduction of history teaching and commencement of the training for history teachers at basic education level. Date 24th November 2022. Venue, International Conference Center, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Chairman of the occasion, His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammadu Sa'ad Abubakar III, CFR. Announcer, Dr. Hamid Boboyi, Executive Secretary, Universal Basic Education Commission.
My people, I mean, Emeka, make us come out. Let me get all this people. I don't learn my lesson. Somebody come buy motor for my hand, carry big money, come give me. Now when the day bust, then my eye open. I know you see that 419 you be. Now when EFCC bam, now they come bab me too. Now he make me the one you all up when I want to do business like me. Where they carry big money, when I go sometimes I go carry transfer, carry bring back. Look at my shine in my eye because a special control unit against money laundering, when they call school, they don't want to say if the money pass 5 million naira for individual, no collect them. If it pass 10 million naira for company, no collect them. Can I go where? Bank. If you don't do them like that, 250,000 naira for every day where this offense happen. Or they go suspend your license, or they go shut them down, for your hand. You talk say, I know one you.
This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
The Industrial Training Fund, ITF, and the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, hereby invite participating organizations and other stakeholders in the public and private sectors to the Stakeholders Dialogue Forum and Outstanding Trainees Award Ceremony, scheduled to hold as follows. Date, Thursday, 24th November 2022. Time, 10 a.m. Venue, NAF Conference Center, Ahmadu Bello Way, Jabi, Abuja. The event, which will be chaired by the Honorable Minister of State, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ambassador Mariam Yalwaji Katagum, will have in attendance the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila, who will be the special guest, while Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk, will serve as the distinguished guest. Guests of honor, President of NECA, Mr. Taiwo Adini, the country representative of Skills for Prosperity, and the country representatives of Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, FCDO, Abuja. The Director General of NECA, Mr. Adewale Oyewinde, will deliver the keynote address, while the Director General and Chief Executive of the ITF, Sir Joseph Ari, will serve as the chief host. Invited guests are expected to be seated by 9:50 a.m.
Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari will this Wednesday unveil the redesigned 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes earlier scheduled for 15th of December 2022. Governor of the Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, disclosed this at the last meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee for the year in Abuja, where he emphasized that the January 31, 2023 end date for the swap will not be changed. Leah Katumbabatunde reports that the committee also hiked rate by 100 basis points.
The global economy is facing macroeconomic uncertainties and associated shock spillovers remain heightened. Already, the IMF has cut growth forecasts for Nigeria, while both the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria see growth slowing down, fueled by a steady rise in inflation to 21.09% as of October 2022. It is further exacerbated by the effects of flood which the Central Bank is seeking to deploy resources for immediate dry cropping season.
We are moderating gradually our interventions in development finance, but that does not mean, like some people have told you, that we have exited our program. I just said it now, that we are going to be very, very aggressive so that we can combat the adverse consequences of the flood, that we are going to be very aggressive with the dry season, and we can only do so through our smallholder farmers and some private anchors that we have.
Elections are around the corner. Expenditure is expected to rise, hence the decision by the Monetary Policy Committee to raise the monetary policy rate by 100 basis points and maintain all parameters. The timeline for the swap of the affected currency notes redesign remains sacrosanct, although the unveiling of the new 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes has been brought forward.
By the special grace of God, tomorrow, which is the 23rd of November 2022, the President has graciously accepted to unveil the new currencies, and the new currencies will be unveiled tomorrow at the Federal Executive Chambers. The 100 days is enough for any person in any part of Nigeria to deposit his money in the bank and get ready to withdraw cash when the new notes are released.
With agency banking network now 1.4 million nationwide, the CBN believes there are enough outlets for accepting cash. However, the Apex Bank is considering a slowdown in the availability of high denominations like the 500 and 1,000 naira and encourages Nigerians to go digital for high-value transactions. In Abuja, Leah Katumbabatunde, NTA News.
Elsewhere, the President, Dangote Group of Companies, Aliko Dangote, said efforts are underway to increase the production capacity of Dangote Sugar Refinery, Numan, from 8,700 hectares of land plantation to 24,200 hectares. Dangote was speaking at the crop seasonal flag of ceremony and outgrowth performance award of the sugar operations held at Dangote Sugar Refinery, Numan, Adamawa State. Yusuf Chika has details.
It began with the facility tour of the sugar refinery, where the president of the company, Aliko Dangote, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Nuya Adebayo, among other dignitaries, were taken round the ongoing expansion of the factory. Addressing guests at the crop seasonal flag off and outgrowth performance awards, Aliko Dangote said the company has the capacity to create over 500,000 direct and indirect jobs to the people and add value to the nation's economy. He said the company is working towards the success of the federal government sugar development master plan by upgrading its production capacity from 3,000 to 6,000 tons of cane per day, and plans have been put in place to raise it to 15,000 tons of cane per day. The president pledged to double the company's corporate social responsibility through setting up microfinance bank, provision of free education to the student of the high school of the company, scholarship awards to deserving students.
We are thus committing over $700 million to our backward integration policy investment to enable us to put in place needed infrastructure for the eventually commencement of full-scale production of sugar in Nigeria.
Speakers on the occasion lauded the Dangote Group of companies for leading the sugar industry, saying it has significantly contributed to the economic growth of the nation.
And I must confess that I am amazed at the expansion and the development that has occurred here in the last few years.
Your operation here at Abuja has brought welcome at all levels and impact every community.
High point of the event were the presentation of awards to the deserving outgrowers, and students of the Refinery High School were also at hand to entertain the guests. In Yola, Yusuf Jika, NTA News.
In other news, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has again urged media practitioners and organizations to exercise restraints by toeing a path of professionalism and embrace ethics of journalism. The minister was speaking at the PNB 2015-2023 scorecard series, which featured the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola. Anthony Forson reports.
The Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, making the point on the increasing resort to fake news and disinformation by a section of the media, saying it has assumed a threatening proportion as the country approaches the 2023 general elections.
From the area I grew, some state security go by and attack on iron offices and citizens are the biggest threats in elections. The fake news and misinformation constitute an equal conflict because they are capable of acts of news.
The minister cited a recent report which claimed that INEC was investigating the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which turned out to be false. Giving way to the Interior Minister to reel out his ministry's scorecard under President Muhammadu Buhari, Rauf Aregbesola said his ministry and agencies under it have never had it this good.
My job in reading out document is that progressively the ministry and the agency supervisors are committed to ensuring that Nigerian leaders,
from the Nigerian Immigration Service to Correctional Center, Federal Fire Service and Civil Defense. When asked what will be the PNB administration's greatest legacy, Aregbesola simply said,
achievement of our
on shortage of passport booklets at immigration offices, the minister explained that was in the past.
We have enough booklets and those who have been impacted. All of our presidents are truly impacted today. We have no booklets.
On securing facilities at correctional centers, the minister also opened up by saying officers and men of the service have been well equipped.
Now, if they are not armed well, we cannot be identified in charge of any of our facilities. Either two, because the threats before an opportunity were from within. So our in charge, those who manage the facilities, do not make weapon hangers. But since we are implementing extra attacks, it's not compulsory mandatory for all officers managing our facilities to go out to handle sophisticated, not just sophisticated weapons. Those to disable whoever attempts to attack our facilities. Send them back to the center. Or send them back to the center. Then we will recite our own name.
The Minister of Interior's outing brings to record 4th edition in the PME 2015-2023 scorecard series. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has joined the international community to condole with the government and people of Indonesia following a devastating earthquake that killed more than 160 people. The earthquake also damaged 2,200 houses and displaced 13,000 persons in the country's West Java province. In his message, President Buhari gives a strong assurance that Nigeria stands with the country in this very difficult period, joining in prayers for the dead and for the early recovery of the injured. Time for a break. Please stay with us.
Happening live in Ibadan. The National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools NAPS Nigeria presents the 15th NAPS International Conference Exhibition and Awards NICE 2022. NAPS is a foremost association of private schools owners with over 50,000 members across 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory in Nigeria. Theme: Revamping Africa Education for Sustainable Development. Keynote speech by the special guest of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Professor Yemi Osibajo, GCON. Also is a special guest, the Honorable Minister for Education, Malam Adamu. Guest of honor, His Excellency the Executive Governor of Oyo State, Engineer Seyi Makinde. For sponsorship and advert placement on our materials, call.
Experience the future of emerging technologies at the 2022 Zenith Bank Tech Fair, taking place at Eco Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos, on the 22nd and 23rd of November 2022, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Theme: Future Forward 2.0. Participation is free, courtesy of Zenith Bank PLC. You, however, need to register your attendance at www.zenithbank.com/techfair. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
A peak protein breakfast. Get a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes to work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes actually fun. Because all day, every day, the peak goes on.
Start your day with a peak protein breakfast. Peak. Reach for your peak. They say nothing good comes easy, but with determination and sheer focus, Boa Foods finds new ways to put food on many plates. We produce competitively priced sugar, flour and pasta that are highly sought after by our corporate and trade partners. At Boa Foods, we remain committed to lead with purpose and make a difference by embracing the responsibility to meet Africa's growing food demand. We dare to lead, so can you. Boa Foods, nourishing lives.
Stubborn dark marks? Try new Nivea Lumina 630. Visibly reduces up to 10 years of stubborn dark marks in just 4 weeks. New Nivea Lumina 630. Get even and luminous skin.
My son Aiden wants to be a great actor like you.
How did I do?
You did great. A couple of years ago, it when his accent began.
Think you can play?
Yes.
Catch.
I take him to auditions and give him Twisco, our family favorite. With the right support, my boy is going to be a great actor. Give your kids Twisco to support their big dreams. Twisco, power your dream. Every healthy family needs the right amount of energy to start your day. But something for breakfast splendid blend of nutritious multigrains? Big Wahala. With the new Kellogg's Go Grain cereal, you don't have to go through all of that. So now, your mornings can look like this.
Go, 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 go grains. Love the goodness of its multigrain. With protein and creamy tasty Kellogg's Go Grains.
With vitamins and minerals in Kellogg's Go Grains.
Go, 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 grains, the goodness of its multi-grain.
Kellogg's Go Grain is a breakfast cereal fortified with vitamins and minerals from the goodness of multigrain like maize, unicorn, rice, and soya. Kellogg's Go Grain.
Looking fresh for your date? Get even fresher with Close-Up. New Close-Up Triple Fresh formula. It cleans deeply, fights 99% of bacteria, and cools intensely, keeping you protected and fresh.
Let's take a picture.
Still fresh, still protected.
Feeling cool and protected.
All day confidence to get close. New Close-Up Triple Fresh formula.
Welcome back. I told you earlier that we still have more on the Kolmani oil drilling, and the presidential flag off of the Kolmani integrated project is expected to boost Nigeria's oil production to 3 million barrels per day when completed. A development stakeholders described as prosperity spread around. Mahmoud Mohammed reports.
The multi-million-dollar Kolmani oil exploration is underway. These heavy machines are on site carrying out the accurate drills for oil and gas exploration, taking place about 200 kilometers northeast from the Bauchi state capital and believed to be one of the largest unexplored interior rift basin in Nigeria. These people are from the surrounding communities and are here to keep a date with history.
Bada da mu da yaranmu muna bukata kuma mu tafi ma a samu a cikin wannan aiki.
Gudunmawa ne zan bayar shi ne gudunmawa mu na zaman lafiya. Duk wanda ya zo aiki a nan wurin mu da shi muna son mu tafi da shi da lafiya.
It is the first in northern Nigeria, and this gathering is here for a presidential flag up of the Kolmani Integrated Development Project.
This will go along with addressing problem in northern Nigeria, and it will also reduce the problem of inequity in the nation.
Oil is found in all these frontier basins, with the already significant oil in Ondo and elsewhere in the southwest. Then oil will be removed as a factor of competitive politics.
We're up to an opportunity that one day in our lifetime we'll see exploration and the drilling of oil in the north. And today we're very happy that as governors we are seeing it.
The OPL 809 and the OPL 810 lies within the borders of Bauchi and Gombe states. Mahmoud Muhammad, NTA News.
And Emmanuel Akila has been talking to host communities on the historic commencement of oil drilling in the northern part of the country.
Life has not been easy for inhabitants in the border areas of Akko and Al-Galeri local governments in Gombe and Bauchi states. They lack basic infrastructure, but beneath the farmlands there is crude oil.
The people living around the Kolmani oil field must be happy people with the inauguration of exploration of oil discovered in commercial quantity in their ancestral land. This means better days ahead for them.
We expect to have good growth now with oil in our land. We hope that schools, hospitals and water will be provided to our community.
I'm very glad that I was brought and brought these riches to my homeland and also to my state.
Peaceful coexistence between the oil exploration company and the host community is one important issue the leaders of both Gombe and Bauchi State must work on to ensure that whatever benefits accruing as a result of the discovery of oil in their areas are actualized.
The expectation of a better life is not only for the people around the Kolmani oil field, but for all Nigerians, as the federal government intends to continue the search for and exploration of hydrocarbon resources in the Lake Chad Basin. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Well, thanks, Emmanuel. And joining me now from our Kano studio is Dr. Kabiru Sufi, a political economist. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Sufi. Sophie, of course, the flag of the Kolmani oil drilling is a landmark event. Could you tell us the significance of this development?
37 billion barrels, and so it had to look for other areas where it will augment the oil reserve. So finding oil in the Kolmani River area will add like another 1 billion barrel as projected. So it means Nigeria is on track towards achieving the 40 billion barrels reserve by 2025. This is of course very significant, and then that will also add to our own daily production of about 300 million barrels per day. So it means...
What would this additional oil bring on the table in terms of the country's economy? What with the additional oil, the increase in the oil production in the country now bring, to the table in terms of the country's economy? Connecting to... Okay, Dr. Sophie, can you hear me, please? Can you respond? From our Kano studio there. So we just move on with the news, and we head to Lagos now, where Adela is standing by to bring us more news.
Necessary for attacks. I've made sure that they were very deliberate in what they were doing. That's a good tactic that they've used.
The current process of physical examination of cargoes with its attendant waste of time and loss of revenue to the federal government coffers will no longer be in practice. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, stated this while inaugurating 3 mobile scanners at Apapa Port in Lagos. Abolade Salami.
Of physical examination. This, however, has hampered easy detection of prohibited items by officers and men of the Nigerian Customs Service at the ports. To complement other ongoing efforts aimed at facilitating international trade through Nigerian seaports, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, says federal government embarked on installation of these scanning machines to expedite customs operations, achieve ease of doing business, as well as improve national security.
This project will no doubt support the Nigerian Customs Service in the delivery of its core mandate, which is trade facilitation. And this is in line with the key priorities set for our ministry by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, targeted at enhancing the ease of doing business, reducing poverty, and stimulating positive macroeconomic conditions for sustained economic growth and development.
To ensure that the scanning machines are put to proper use, Controller General of Nigerian Customs Service, Colonel Hamid Ali, said officers of the service have been equipped with necessary skills to deploy and maintain the equipment.
Since we know that good number of items which pose a threat to national security find their way through our various entry points, we believe that equipment that is being commissioned by today will greatly enhance our capacity to defend our nation.
With the installation of the scanning machines at the Apapa, Tinkan and on the ports, stakeholders note that these will put recalcitrant traders on notice. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Let's now talk artificial intelligence. More robots are expected to be on the planet than humans by the year 2035. That is the future of digital evolution. Smart economies, therefore, are meeting the needs of citizens using artificial intelligence and machine learning to redefine the evolving fintech space and other areas of human endeavor. Amaka Owo reports that this prediction was made by international best-selling author
Breath K at the second edition of Zenith Tech Fair, organized by one of Nigeria's leading innovative banking and financial services provider, Zenith Bank PLC, with the theme Future Forward 2.0.
Poised to provide distinctive innovative banking services, Zenith Bank PLC established the Zenith Tech Fair in 2019 as a platform for stakeholders in the IT sector to deliberate and for numerous Nigerians to gain insights and take advantage of the emerging trends in the banking and fintech ecosystem. The founder and chairman of the bank, Jim Ovia, says the bank occupies the 420th position in recent global ranking by Bankers Magazine.
Bankers Magazine and Financial Times of London, they decided they would do with only 1,000. So they published and recognized just 1,000. And Zenith Bank happened to be one of those.
The Chief Executive Officer chronicled the journey of a financial institution as the first bank to initiate the first banking app, infotech and generic products called Bankalot, and also the first bank to create an off-site ATM machine in Ama Breweries, Enugu State.
He crafted the vision that says to make Zenith Bank the leading Nigeria technology-driven financial service, globally recognized financial service organization that offers distinctive service.
Founder, Movin, and author of Bank 4.0 examines the future of banking and digital transformation journey using technology.
This changes the way we think about delivering banking and banking technologies and service. It's not the delivery of a product you go and pick up at a branch anymore. You now are trying to get people to use that mobile wallet infrastructure.
Seeing how Zenith Bank has really carried this tech fair, I'm very positive that they can sustain this and they can keep providing solutions for the people.
126 exhibitors and 22 global brands, and it will feature a hackathon that will produce winners. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
And there's other reports from Lagos. Iyere is back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Adiola, for that update. So now let's look at politics a bit. As the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, Kola Abiola says he will run a market-driven economy if elected as Nigeria's next president come 2023. He disclosed this while featuring on the candidates, a town hall meeting series transmitted live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. The presidential candidate promised to be on the side of the masses in line with the ideology of the People's Redemption Party.
We are here to bridge the gap between the past and the future. We're here to mentor the future leadership politically, governance, and leadership in Nigeria. But more importantly, a vote for PRP is a vote for 711 candidates nationwide. So we're bringing in a fresh new set of people. We have the youngest set of governors running in this country and legislators.
He promised to run an all-inclusive government that will work for the overall development of the country. Issues of transmission quality, equipment availability and improvement in content in the face of fierce competition were the crux of discussions at the 2022 annual conference organized by the Program's Directorate of the Nigerian Television Authority. Olabode Arewa reports that the event also attracted some veterans of the broadcast profession.
These are heads of programs departments in NTA stations across the 36 states and their colleagues at the headquarters. Their convergence here for the annual conference is to take stock and plan for improved output. Program Directorate Donshima Payasi Kelavi and Abigail Ezehiyekumere are NTA producers whose programs have won awards of excellence in the past and are eager to learn more tricks of the job that will keep them at the top.
Teamwork, that's the truth. Teamwork is what has kept us going. It's all about content.
Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Abdulhamid Dembos, and the Executive Director of Programs, Wole Koka, could not agree more with public perception that the NTA must sustain the ante in content production.
If you know how to think better, then make it work for you and use the medium to make sure that you teach people how to do things better so that it will be better for all of us. Especially also go to our sponsors and partners who believe not just in the NTA grant, but in us and programs who can change the landscape of television content in Nigeria.
It is expected that at the end of the 3-day conference, Doshima, Abigail, and their colleagues will be equipped with what it takes to make it difficult for others to beat the reach of the NTA. In Abuja, Labodawa, NTA News.
Of course, the NTA is always ahead, and we have more business news to keep us ahead. And Benny Adams is here. Benny, what's the latest?
Thank you, Yeri. There is much to learn in the world of business. Ahead of Nigeria opening trading at the African Continental Free Trade Market, stakeholders in the textile and garment industry advocate increased production of made in Nigeria fabrics. This is as Nigeria plans to host the maiden edition of African Fashion and Textile Week in Abuja.
Raising African textile, and the easiest way for you to convince people or get people to wear it's when you and I start wearing it.
In the past 10-15 years, even if we've not done much in production, we have gained much in acceptance.
An interest rate hike. At the end of today's trading session, a total of 126.5 million shares in 3,383 deals corresponding to a market value of 3.851 billion naira were traded. Compared with previous trading day, today's data shows 21% decline in volume, 98% improvement in turnover, but 6% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 24.5 trillion naira. Zenith Bank recorded the highest volume of shares traded, followed by Fidelity Bank and MTN Nigeria. Well, that is business news. Time for break.
This is the moment we've been waiting. It's time to rise up, do it again. Africa, do your dance now. Follow your winning dance now. So we never lose it again. We can rise up, yes we can rise up, Africa rise up. Africa rise up, yes we can rise up, Africa rise up. Men do not like overconfident women.
Don't touch me without my permission.
I'm a playful guy and I do get carried away sometimes.
You are selfish, manipulative, and you are a nasty.
That's all I done for you. What have you done for me? She called me back. You say that now, but then when you see your mother, you start to act like you're a dead back dog. You were supposed to be more careful. I think really not enough.
A pig protein breakfast. Get a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes to his work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes absolutely fun. Because all day every day, the pig goes
Start your day with pig protein breakfast pea. Rich for your pea.
I don't come, eh? Okay, yeah. Driver, stop. Where you go see? Na Qatar they rush go soon. Qatar. I got prepared JC for you. Give me this one. This one will make sense for you. Nice one. I like them fine. Guy, you're getting me to the go now. Wow, my brother, welcome to Qatar 2022. Bro, this is amazing.
Qatar 2022 go hit you, Yakata. On Top Go TV Super. Enjoy all the 64 games live for your domot. Make you catch all the action and commentary for English, Pidgin, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba.
Oh, good header, good goal.
Go TV. Love it.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment.